and welcome to another SACPA session. SACPA acknowledges that this event takes place on the lands of the Blackfoot people and Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3, and we pay respect to their past, present, and future cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. SACPA commits to assisting reconciliation efforts by raising awareness of the ways past, present, and present injustices can be reconciled. We're very thankful today to have with us Elvin Mills. Elvin, thank you so much for joining us. And Elvin will be talking on the topic of kindness to others, a perspective of addiction crisis in Lethbridge. Thank you, Elvin, and I look forward to, I look forward to your talk here today.
Okay. Nestoni taniko itamei pui. Nachsanin nansta imuna. Tsin. My name is Elvin Mills. I introduced myself in Blackfoot. My grandfather named me my Blackfoot name, which means talk. I talked about my life. I will be talking about my residential school. I spent 9 years at St. Paul's Anglican School on the Blackfoot Reserve. And in the summer of '75, they closed it. My brother and my cousin, we got transferred to St. Mary's. That was a Catholic school. So we started school in '75. And I was there for 4 years till 1979. I was at St. Mary's School. So in all told, I spent 14 years in residential school. And right now, I just turned 60 years old. Our first years at school at St. Paul's, we used to go to in carts. One year we went to school in McGrath, and then the rest of the years we went to school in carts from St. Paul's residential school. I remember back then being at St. Paul's, and we were junior boys. So we go to school and like we were all dressed the same. Like we always had the same lunches. We were treated differently, and there was times that people like the other students, they knew we were from the residential school, so we were kind of like they knew like every from the residential school that we were we were kind of looked on as being different. And then being at the residential school was lonely. You're there every day, and you have to get up. You get up for breakfast. You come back to school. You go to school. Then you come back, and it was everything was structured. Being in residential, and when we talk about abuses, usually the supervisors and the abuses that they on the students. But what's not often brought up is the abuses that from the older students. When we were at the mercy of the senior boys. And I was the oldest of, well, my cousin Red, Calvin Chief Cap, and my brother Jimmy. So I'd stand up for them. And as long as we stand up, then they won't bother us after. And you don't tell on anybody. You take your licks. So at a very young age, I learned to fight back. I find this was a learned. And then with the older students, the violence was always present. While I was there, uh, uh, Alan Smallface, he started a boxing club. And I remember in grade 4, we went down to Fort Hall, Idaho. That was my second fight. We went down there. Alan Smallface formed the boxing club, St. Paul Poor Boys. There was myself, my brother Jimmy Mills, I, Francis Eagle Child, Frank Wolfblum. We had two fighters from the Pagan Reserve, Brian Stump, Andy Stump, and we fought out of St. Paul's. And it was that took away the drudgery of being in residential life, everyday life. You got to go out, and boxing was a great escape for me. And then in saying that, Dennis Chief Boone was one of the ones that taught me how to fight. Dennis Chief Boone was a world-class fighter at one time. He represented Canada in the Commonwealth Games in Christchurch, and he was the one that, when I was younger, he'd teach me. So being at St. Paul's was being a boxer. I was always people knew that, and so going through St. Paul's, like a lot of the guys that I went to school with, they're no longer around, and some of the things that happened at St. Paul's, you think like it was. I tried to just put them away, but as I was going through my recovery, I learned to work on my trauma. And that's when I was able to deal with stuff that happened. And I can't say that I'm fully recovered or I'm fully healed, but now at least I won't go to the bottle. At one time, I struggled with alcohol and drugs. So from St. Paul's, they closed it in the summer of '75. I made it to the Canada Winter Games. I lost. There was an accident there, and some members of our tribe were involved in that accident, and I was only 14 years old when that happened. And my grandfather was still alive, and so in the fall of '75, they transferred us to St. Mary's, myself, my brother, and Calvin. And then that's when we got into basketball. Those were more pleasant times of my experience in residential school. As part of my journey, I have to acknowledge the good times too that I spent in residential school. We were able to travel the world playing basketball. We played some good teams. We had a really good team. In my last year of high school, there was myself, Calvin Chief Calf, Jim Plum, Marcel Weaselhead, Winston Day Chief Jr., Marvin Many Fingers. Our first coach was Moses Weaselhead. And then in high school, it was Jerry Dawson that coached us. And so that was one of our stronger sports was basketball. And then like for a lot of us, like for myself, growing up in a residential school was a form of institutionalization. Get up at a certain time and go eat. You go to bed at a certain time. Everything was structured. And I was able to get a basketball scholarship to go to Medicine Hat. I went to Medicine Hat, and then I played basketball there, and I was going to school. And there was no structure. I was on my own. I discovered alcohol. And after that year, and then I started going to jail. I started living that life of the street life of alcohol. And then I got into the drugs, the violence, hand in hand with the street life. And so living that life, the majority of my adult life, I was in and out of jail. And in May of '99, I got charged for attempted murder. I received a 4-year sentence. I served it. And I came back into the community, struggling with alcohol and drugs still. I know that when I meet, it's bad to be you. I'm gonna get some reckoning for what I've done. In a perfect world, we could undo the past and start fresh. But what's happened has happened. So now, since I've been in recovery, it's my passion to help people that are struggling with addictions. So I finished my sentence, and then I continued. I went to Southern Laleham, 10 minutes outside of Nanaimo, BC. And that's when I started working on my trauma, the grief. And that was an eye opener for me. All this life, I lived that tough guy life. You don't cry, you take your licks. But I learned it's okay to cry. It's okay to talk about stuff. That's when my healing. And and for a lot of guys that I went to school with in my generation, a lot of them, even the ones from St. Paul's, they probably went to their grave without them not even having a chance to deal with what's inside. And I'm speaking from my experiences that I experienced. I come from a family of 6. Now there's only 2 of us left. My life, when I look back on it, it was what made it bearable, or what made it positive for me, was I was able to get involved with sports, and I was a good athlete. Now, I'd like to carry that on to help the younger ones. Sometime down the road, I'd like to see if I could start a boxing club and help the younger ones, especially the ones that are at risk. And I have an organization. At one time, it's called. Oh, I was asked about that organization. What made me start it? When this opiate crisis first hit us around 2012, 2013, it hit us by storm. I was working at the Lethbridge shelter, and at that time we were giving out party packs that consisted of syringes, cookers. You could cook up your drugs into liquid, and then you get them in the syringe, and then wherever you are, right away you inject. They say smash. You do a smash right there. And there was one individual. He had overdosed on the east side of Lethbridge shelter. Coming around, I noticed an overdose phone. We phoned the 911 ambulance, got there. This individual, they brought him to the hospital. Next day, I was back at work. I seen him. He was in the same spot. And I asked him about if he wanted to go to detox, some kind of recovery. And he said no. He says, I'm gone. I don't care. I thought he has lost all hope. Then at first I started my organization. I called it Ray of Hope. It was Foundation of Hope. I thought to myself, he needs some hope. 3 days later, I seen him. I walked up to him. I gave him a hug. I told him I care about what happens to you. So now my organization is called Tsin, Renewal and Healing Centre. Tsin is a Blackfoot word. If you translate it, it means kindness to others, caring for others. My organization, the mandate will always be to support the at-risk and vulnerable that struggle on the streets. I've lived that life of being on the streets, of being hungry, nowhere to go, trying to get that good feeling. Now I pass out sandwiches. I was getting donations for jackets. Sometimes when the people that are struggling, they're on the drugs, they don't feel the elements as they should be feeling. Sometimes they only have a hoodie. I can do them. I want to thank the Lethbridge community for the overwhelming support shown providing jackets for the at-risk and vulnerable. I will be initiating a Christmas gift campaign for the at-risk and vulnerable. And it'll be at a hall, and they're gonna have a Christmas dinner. And I will ensure that every one of them has a Christmas card and a Christmas present. So just for this one Christmas, I'm gonna make it special for them. They live a hard life out there. And that's being in society today. They should be afforded the dignity, the compassion, as everyone else gets, regardless of the choices that they make. And that will be always my goal. If I ever have, I will feed them. in any way I can help. In Lethbridge, I was at 240 names of the indigenous community that are struggling here in the city. They're the ones that I'll focus on. They're not going anywhere soon. It is my hope one day to create the Blackfoot Indigenous Recovery Facility that could help the people that are struggling, to help them with the unresolved grief. And now to have suicide intervention training. We need that to help the people. We have to start being proactive. The numbers are getting higher. And the individuals, the community members, they're getting younger. And the opioid crisis, right now it's at the worst it's ever been. There's fatalities every week, reading in the paper. And I call out on the communities, the entities. We have to have an all hands on deck mentality on this, to work together, to help the people that are struggling. And like I said, from when this crisis first started to today, there's been two individuals that have been found that have succumbed to the weather. And for some of us, that they're starting to make opioids stronger. And we encourage the ones that are struggling not to be alone, to be always with someone that we could call for help. I'm trying to initiate some programs through my organization, start addressing the trauma. There's one lady that has lost her two loved ones, a brother and a sister. And now the father, she's alone. And it's heartbreaking. And I live in a Latin community. The other day I seen an individual going through the dumpster. A pizza box. He opened it. He looked around. I was sitting in my vehicle. He took two slices of that pizza and put it away. He made sure no one seen. That broke my heart to see that. So I'm constantly trying to, with whatever resources I get, there's some video out there that have helped, and some that said they don't want to get recognized to help these people that struggle. And we have to remember they are people, they have families. And we can't give up on them. Everybody deserves a chance. So like right now, I used to work at Three Voices of Healing. It was a recovery facility outside of Invermere, BC. And I worked at Bringing Home the Spirit in standoff as a peer support worker. Now I've been able to start a program, peer support mentorship program, where I have individuals that are over 2 years clean now, that have lived that life of the addictions, that have experienced withdrawal, that have experienced craving. They wake up in the morning, they wash their pipe, whatever residue they can get from their pipe, then they cook it up and they inject that. They call it dope sick. That's how they start their day. And right now I have 2 peer support. They're over 2 years clean. They've been through the fire, and now they're helping the community. This peer support mentorship program can work. They've been through that life and now they're giving back. They don't have no degrees. They don't have no certificates. But their degrees from life itself, what they went through. They went through hardship. They went through adversity. They went through loss. And now Melissa and Cody are giving back. And I'm going to recruit more of them because they've been through the fire. What they go through is almost like a living hell. The withdrawals, the cravings, the want. Opioid is such a strong drug. It's like how you need air, like how you need food. You can't just get up one day and say, no, we're going to quit. It's a process. Recovery facilities now, they have to start recognizing methadone. They got to start recognizing that as recovery, Suboxone as recovery. At least with they're on Suboxone or methadone, they can control the cravings. They're not going to overdose on the Suboxone. Everything is regulated. And in ending, I just would like for the mainstream public, when they see somebody out there, they're not just seeing an addict. We could put ourselves in their shoes for a few minutes and try and feel what they feel. A lot of them are. It's the choices that they make that they go through. My grandfather, Ansta Ninanista. Och kanu to see me. Agasa kapiuta. Api kani. Anixistaki. Emunisi. Ikiman. Anixay nixam kitapiksi. Das macht sense katsumataya. I was just saying, these are some of the, like the grandfathers my grandfather used to be with, and I was fortunate enough to be in their presence. Sometimes when things get tough, I call on them. Even though they're gone, I still feel them. I am very humbled, and thankful for this opportunity to be able to share my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin, very much for sharing your story with us. Um, Incredibly deep felt, and really appreciate your honesty, your sincerity, and I can only imagine how emotionally difficult that was. So I really, really appreciate it. We all do really appreciate it. Um, if you're ready to proceed, are you okay with me asking questions now? Are you, or do you need a
Yeah,
minute? Or,
yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
Okay. Our first question comes from Knut Peterson. Thank you very much, Elvin, for telling us your story and giving context to the struggle many people are going through. Please tell us more about how you think Blackfoot culture can do more to help.
Okay, with the Blackfoot culture, uh, it's very, it's very strong, and it can help in recovery. I'll, I'll, I'll use an example where we had a consumption site that was here in Lethbridge. They had a ceremonial room in there. I was with my trauma counselor. She's based out of Victoria, BC. We drove through the consumption site. There was people doing drugs outside of the consumption site. Dealing going on. Everything that comes with the drug use. And then there's only a room inside the consumption site. So with that being said, with the Blackfoot, the religion and the culture shouldn't be beside where there's drug use right there. And I and like a lot of like the elders know about it, and it's kind of a hush hush topic. Uh, but I brought up to start some recovery camps, just 10 minutes outside of Lethbridge here, on Blood Tribe community lands. The idea is very well received. We're the ones struggling here in the city. We bring them out there. They're a few days clean, and then we have sweat lodge. They live in a teepee. And then there's no chance of any kind of drug use or any kind of substances getting to them because it's out there. Here in the city, the drug use is rampant. It's all over. So let's get them away from here. And, you know, naive, I'm still going to pursue that. I just haven't had the supports that I need. Even the ones that are struggling out there, they told me that's a good idea. Some of them are camping out anyway. Let's live in a teepee. Live there, and then we'll drum out there. And so now I've reached out to the Blackfoot Reserve. I reached out to Bikani. So there's enough interest there. So in the new year, I want to again try to pursue the possibilities of running some recovery camps to help the people. Because food culture is very strong. Given we use it to help the people, you know. It's very strong. I was around it with my grandfather. I respect it a lot. but there can't be drug use in ceremony. Right now, that it just doesn't work. You know, it's just me talking. I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. But my grandfathers, the grandfathers, if they knew about that, they would have said something. But yeah, Knut, I really think the Blackfoot culture, it could help with the people that are struggling.
Okay, our next question comes from Alan Friesen. Thanks, Alvin, for your authenticity. Can you speak to the concept of the eagle's nest?
The eagle's nest, the concept, I don't think I'm very familiar with that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Our next question comes from Laurie Schultz. What are your hopes and goals for your organization, Kindness to Others? To help those you serve? Would you like to see additional resources from your peer support mentorship or other service providers?
Yes, I would. My organization, we've had our registration for 2 years now. And I'm still hopeful that some funding will come into place with the peer support mentorship program. I'm glad that the person there asked about it. I will continue to, because it does work, because these are the ones that have lived it. Right now, Grace Roy started a very good program in Edmonton where it's peer support based, where instead of sending them to jail, get them through the drug courts, where they have uh, uh, options of going into treatment rather than going into the jail. And then now they have some success stories. Now we have a high turnover of offenders that are just going through, they get out and right away they're back into what they were going through. So if we start getting to them and the drug courts, I know McMahon has started that. And with my program, it will be peer support based. They're the ones that have lived it, and they're the ones that are. And I'm very hopeful. I continue to try to get funding, but I'm a grassroots organization. I do have a board of directors. I do have all that.
Okay. Our next question comes from Bev Mundell. Thanks, Alvin, for sharing your journey with us. How can we contribute to your planned Christmas party?
Okay, I will leave you a contact number. And my plan is to rent the Westminster Hall. I've done so in the past. And I've started database. I'm quite familiar with, well, just the younger ones. I don't know, the ones that struggle out there. And whoever wants to help, and I want to try to see if I could even get Santa Claus there in a Christmas tree. And we'll make it a very special Christmas for them. And I will have contact information because we hear a Christmas gift campaign for the hospital, for Salvation Army. Why not a Christmas gift campaign for the ones that struggle? The ones that don't know where their next meal is going to come from. The ones that just want to get through the day. Thank you.
Okay, Alvin, maybe just provide that contact number once you have it. If you provide it to SACPA, we can then provide that contact number on to our members here, if that's possible. If you could provide it to Knud.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's 403 331 3768.
Do you want to just repeat that? 403
403 331 3768.
Wonderful. Thank you. Our next question comes from Mark Goodall. Do you feel that decriminalizing and providing a safe supply of drugs would be a good or a bad idea?
At this point, I don't see no harm in trying that concept. Like we do have to be very proactive to combat this opioid crisis at this point. So, and I like what that sorry about that. I like that question that the one that just posed that question, because with the opioid crisis, it's a social issue. You know, if we could start working on them, talking to them, then they might go into drug courts rather than just sending them to jail with no kind of counseling and then getting them back up there. It's just like a revolving door. So yeah, I like his concept of what he just said. Yeah.
Our next question comes from Laurie Schultz. Alvin, thank you for sharing your story and the stories of others. What needs to happen to start a methadone program?
Okay, so with the methadone and the Suboxone, when they get on that, usually they're just coming off the detox process, right? They're going through the withdrawals, and then the withdrawals, the first 2-3 days are the hardest, especially the ones that have been using hardcore. And then once they get through the hardest part of the withdrawals, and then they'll start. Some will adjust. Well, some will like methadone better than Suboxone. Some will like Suboxone better than methadone. And then once they start that, and then they'll be working with the physician, and then they'll start their doses. And then once they start their doses, and then they'll find a good balance, and then and as long as they're on their doses that controls the craving. So it'll take quite the effort where they'll go into detox. And then like with my peer supports, they've been through that process. And I know one is completely off the Suboxone, and their dosages are always getting smaller. So, you know, like it can work as long as it's monitored. And then when the people that are in recovery, when like even with my peer support, they're on urinalysis. And the purpose of the urinalysis is not to shame them, it's just to get a progress of the progress that they've made, and to keep the integrity of their recovery, to keep that in place. You know, we know that they're still trying to do it.
And there is a clinic in town, is there not? There is a methadone clinic in Lethbridge, is there not?
Yes, there is, and I've heard that they do good work. That So there is supports here in place. It's just a matter of getting everybody to get together on this. Yeah, and I'm just doing my like for me. I've been in frontline work for a long time now, so I'm very in tune with especially with the opioids right now, with the benzo that's being mixed in with. It's getting stronger. In fact, there was a warning yesterday from the Blood Reserve. So you have to be very, like with the drugs, it's somebody that's hardcore, they still have that, they can still overdose.
Okay, and Alan Friesen is with Bev Mundell in terms of how do we help regarding your planned Christmas party. I think you mentioned that, but Alan's part of wanting to help as well, Alan. So give that number a call. Bev Mundell, how is your program funded, the Kindness to Others program? How are you funded?
At this point, I've never been funded. I've relied on donations. The Blood Tribe, senior management, Nadine Telfeathers and Rick Soup have been very supportive. And then I've had individuals that have supported my sandwich runs, and I'm still quite hopeful. I'm still seeking the Blood Tribe leadership for some supports to help me with my the funding that I have. But right now, with the jackets that I'm distributing, they came from the community of Lethbridge. And yeah, and then usually when I do a bag run, it consists of a sandwich, a bag of chips, drink, and some. Usually the ones struggling out there, they like sweet stuff, so I try to get like some kind of a candy or a candy bar with them.
Our next question comes from Leona Jacobs. I think the idea of a recovery camp is good. However, another SACPA speaker recovered from addictions noted that the person needs to want to recover. What might be the options to help those with addictions to find their way to wanting to recover?
Well, that's where like I also had a program, street level intervention program that I had made to introduce to the city. There's a lot of entities that are that have those services, and for some of us, we get confused because there's a duplication of services. But for myself and with the work that I do, I'm right out there talking to them, engaging, and sometimes that's the first uh, that's the first thing you do is you go out there, and once you start knowing them, and then you're talking to them, and then some of them, if they do express a desire to get into detox, and then by all means you try to get them into detox. With bringing home the spirit, they said we don't take intakes Monday and Thursdays. But when somebody wants to go to detox, you try to act on it right then and there. Let's get them to detox before they find something. And then once they find something, and then that thought of detox is gone. So we have to find a way of transitioning some of the ones struggling into detox. There's 75 beds. Let's make use of them.
Okay. Our next question comes from Laurie Schultz. Is the Lethbridge drug courts effective?
I haven't. I know Damon runs that from McMahon, and I've met with Grace Royce on a couple of occasions, and I haven't really heard of anything, but I do know of individuals that have been in and out, and right away they're just right back into their same behaviors. They're back into the addictions, and if there was a way where at least they could have some kind of counseling, and then let them be aware that if they can go into this drug court, they won't have to go to jail, but then they'll have to abide by whatever the drug court. There's got to be conditions, right? And for some of them, that might be they get their kids back. They could get their place back. I'm seeing a high number of indigenous coming in from the reserve into the city. And somebody yesterday mentioned the population, they're getting younger. So we have to start some intervention right in the schools right now. Start intervention. We need that.
There seems to be a lot of cuts to those kind of services though lately in Alberta, right? And also the supervised safe consumption site was shut down. Have you noticed how those cuts are affecting people in terms of finding help or finding a place that is safe or any other services? Have you noticed any of those cuts?
Well, I've noticed, like with the opioid crisis, it's like I did a survey myself, and I was at 240 names plus of, people that were struggling, that were of indigenous descent. So now, and then of course, getting more transients coming in from the bigger cities, and then and then it's coming into Lethbridge, and then we're getting a lot of them coming in from the reserve there into Lethbridge there. So we need if we need to see if we could accommodate that the ones that are struggling here in Lethbridge, to see if we could accommodate some services geared towards them. I hear this is Blackfoot territory that's always being mentioned. Okay, right in the city, there's 240 of them that are struggling. So what can we do to help them? Let's start with some trauma programs. And then go out there, talk to them, try to get them into detox. We need a facility that could gear to address the people in the city. I hear Mustard Seed, Alpha House, they got these sober shelters going up. That's good. That's good. But I'd like to see something geared towards the indigenous population. For some of us, it's like one struggling on the street. I see, like right now, there's been a lot of programs, entities doing this and that, and then they keep falling through the cracks. They keep falling through the cracks.
Our next question comes from Knut Peterson. Does your Kindness to Others Foundation have a tax exempt status, i.e., can you issue tax receipts?
Yes, we can do tax exempt receipts because I am registered under Tsin. Yeah, that's. And we do have our board of directors and we're a grassroots organization, and like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'll probably keep doing this frontline work.
Our next question comes from Jim Miller. Do you work with Dr. Esther Tailfeathers at the Recovery Centre on the Blood Reserve to try and get addicts into Lethbridge? In Lethbridge into that centre?
No, I don't work with her. No, I don't know what. I'm just trying to concentrate on the Lethbridge population. I'm not too like what's going on out there on the bus, what they're doing. I haven't I haven't really. I don't know what they're doing out there.
Okay. Knut Peterson, can you speak a bit about how different agencies in Lethbridge are working together or not wanting to cooperate?
Oh, was that to me?
Yeah, sorry, that was, yeah.
Okay.
So, do you want me to reread it?
Can you repeat that again?
Okay.
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, totally. So the question from Knut Peterson, can you speak a bit about how different agencies in Lethbridge are working together or not wanting to cooperate?
You know, that's kind of that's a touchy subject, I would say, because of the entities. And I've noticed, there was a group that had contacted me, asking me for ideas of what I was doing. And then I noticed there's other groups, and there was even a teepee put up at Park Place Mall, a group that just started dealing with recovery. So I've noticed there's been a renewed interest in this opioid crisis, the fight. But with myself, I've been fighting this fight all this time. You know, I've been frontline work, and then so I guess it's encouraging that society is recognizing the serious adverse effects of the opioid crisis and how the indigenous population has been affected by it. It's affected us very adversely.
Alvin, that's it for all the questions in the queue. Before we end today's session, do you have a message for us to take home? Do you have an idea of, would you like to say some final words to us?
Yes, I would. Okay. Ano ka? Kes ko kan sawo tapisin. Ako spumwaksi. Aksi. Idasituka asik. I'm just asking for the people out there. If we could help the ones struggling out here. If you could have a cup of coffee or an encouraging word for one of the ones struggling out there. Especially right now, it's Christmas. And for a lot of them, they're going to spend it alone. It's a sad time of year for a lot of them. And for some of us, that if we have this little bit of compassion, offer them a sandwich. If you see some of them, offer them a kind word. And thank you again for allowing me to share my story.
Thank you so much, Alvin, for joining us today, for your honesty, your caring, your compassion. Laurie Schultz, Alvin, thank you for your work that meets people where they are at and affirms their value as a human being and showing each kindness. Very grateful for your work. Knut Peterson, homelessness is obviously a huge issue, especially this winter. Bev Mundell, thank you so much for your presentation. Jim Miller, thank you, Alvin, for a very interesting and passionate talk. Alan Friesen, in the movie The Meaning of Empathy by Dr. Tailfeathers, made it clear how harm reduction is the most proven path to moving forward with long-term recovery. And so thank you very much for joining us today, Alvin. And thank you for providing that phone number. I hope people will donate to your Christmas idea of providing a meal and some comfort. And next week, folks, join us on Thursday next week with Linda Hancock on the COVID chaos and Christmas. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.
What is it?